Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Reviewed. Hello my friends and welcome to another recommendations video, and today we're doing one that I don't believe I have ever made before, and that always tickles me a little bit pink because even me making videos now this is my 7th year of making videos, there are still some of those, in my opinion, this is a bit more like a basic type of trope that I haven't done a video for. I mean, I know a lot of these recs, which obviously you can tell from the title, vacation romances, are probably mixed in with like road trip ones or forced proximity, and a few of them are even in survival videos that I've done, and that is probably why. But some of these that I drug up, I do have my Goodreads pulled up with some of these because it's been ages since I read them, and I was having a bit of a blast from the past going back through some of these. Though I will tell you, when you look up vacation romances, you get a lot of romances that are like recommendations that are books to read on vacation. There's also a lot of the trad pub authors books that are vacation romances, you know, like Emily Henry and that crowd. You'll see a lot of very similar looking books pop up when you type. And so it did take me a bit to kind of wade through all of those ones to get to the goodies that I'm excited for. Of course, not to say that People We Meet on Vacation isn't a good one. That's just not usually the type that I read. I like indie books, as you know, and for the most part, that is what I try to pull together for these. But there are a few trad pub that'll be on this list. So anyway, I do have a pretty long list for this one because I won't have too much to say about these ones. So when I don't have tons to gush about, I try to find more recommendations to give you guys. And we got some good ones in here. So let's get rocking through these and we'll see how it goes, okay? This was also perfect timing because next week I'm actually going to be on vacation. And I do have videos still planned. I'm trying to get those pre-filmed this week to at least have 2 videos go up while I'm gone. But there wasn't a weekly wrap up this last Sunday. I had quite a few of you message me. I try to share updates like that. First and foremost, they go to my Patreon. So make sure you're following me over there. You do not have to be a member to follow me and get my updates on like my schedule and stuff. I share that publicly over there. I also do share it on the YouTube community page, but you don't always see those updates if you're not like have the bell hit for my channel. But I was away this last weekend, and then I will have a double weekly wrap up coming before I go on vacation, but then I'll be gone the next weekend as well for I'm going to be gone, I think, for 9 days. So there will also be a double weekend at the end of June. And then I'll be gone over the 4th of July weekend, so we'll have a double weekend after that. That tends to happen in the summertime. I do actually get out of the house now and then and have some vacations of my own. So anyway, this will be a great one to do. All right, starting off, we're going to start with Restoration by Noelle Adams. This is a perfect time to do this one because Noelle is going to be having a bind up of all of the books in the Worthing series coming soon. That will be available on her website soon. I work for Noelle Adams, just in case you don't know. But Restoration is the 4th book in the Worthing series. However, the way this series is written, it is only very slightly connected because they're all family members. I think they're all cousins in the Worthing family, if I'm correct. 2 of them might be siblings, but they're not really in each other's books at all. So you really can pick whichever one you want to read in the series. They all have like a fun trope that they follow. But Restoration actually follows this wealthy, a bit of a playboy. He's a lovable playboy though, and his assistant who has fallen in love with him. And she has worked for him for quite a few years. Now, she never planned to stay working for him, but she just kind of got caught up in the work, and now she wants to get back to her life. And, you know, she makes good money, being an assistant for him, but it's not what she wants to do for the next 30 years or so. So she actually, at the beginning of this book, puts in her notice, and she gives him a good amount of notice. And he's supposed to start looking for another assistant, but she ends up getting asked to go on like one last trip with him, which is going to be this small yacht vacation where he's going to be driving the boat and she's coming with. There was someone else who was supposed to come as well, and they didn't end up being there. And then this actually ends up being a shipwrecked romance. So they went on vacation together, this boss and assistant, and they end up stranded on an island for a while. And again, this is a pretty quick story. It's not super stressful in the realm of survival romances, I will say that. Noelle Adams isn't really the stressful of the pen names, right? Like Claire Kent's books are definitely a bit more stressful for safety situations, but they make out, well, they do make out, that also happens, but they make out pretty well in this one. So yes, that is a vacation gone wrong situation there. Okay, next up, as I said, I do have my notes for some of these because I'd forgotten I even read some of these. I love that when I go through a Goodreads list, right? If I've read the book in the last 7 years, it shows 7 years being when I really started using my Goodreads. And I forgot that I'd read this one. But this one is called Hooking Up by Helena Hunting. And this is another one of the classic situations for like a vacation romance. And that is the good old, it was supposed to be my honeymoon and now I'm going on my own or something like that. And I only put one of those in here. But again, that is definitely a popular situation for a vacation. But in this one, we have Amelie Whitfield, and she is at her wedding reception. So like the wedding already happened. And then she overhears her husband proclaiming his love for someone else. So why did he marry her? Like, what the hell, man? So she throws herself at the first man that she sees, but he's not interested in becoming a revenge screw for her. So she's mortified and she decides to escape the post-wedding drama. She's like, you know what? I have just been planning this wedding and it's been so stressful and I thought I was in love with this man and he's in love with somebody else. Like, I'm going to take the vacation that we have planned and go enjoy myself. So she goes there and she ends up seeing that man who rejected her on the same tiny island, but he's there for a work trip, which I mean, that's a nice place to have to go for a work trip. But this time he very quickly rectifies the situation. He's like, you know, I didn't want to take advantage of you like at your wedding by sleeping with you there. That would have been a bit weird. But now he's like, you know what? Your husband has proved to be an absolute ass. And I'm happy to help you forget about all of it for a little bit here, here on the island with me, basically. Okay. So now they stay there with each other for a bit and they're going to fall in love on vacation. So that is Hooking Up by Helena Hunting. And what's cool, actually, I don't know if you guys knew this, because I remember at the time when I found these books, I was so surprised that they were Helena Hunting. But she actually has this little trilogy that is a part, that is called the Shacking Up series. So yeah, this one takes place in the South Pacific. And there's also one I know that is like, she's a pet sitter for him. And then I think, I can't remember what the third one is, but they were just really fun, quick books. And I listened to the audios of these because back in the day, they used to be on the Audible Escape program. And I really enjoyed them. So that was fun. All right, next up, we actually have a historical romance to share. And this book, there's actually, I think maybe this whole series maybe is technically starts on like the same event maybe. I can't remember. It's been a long time. But I know at least 2 of the books take place, like they start on this vacation. But we have The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shupe. And this was actually a 6-star read for me the year it came out, which was a 2021 for this one. 2023. Oh, wow. I thought it was further back than that. But yeah, 2023 for this one. And in this one, we have a rebellious heiress, a duke in dire straits, and an anonymous midnight tryst. So in this one, in the Fifth Avenue Rebel series, we have our heroine, Nellie, who ruined her reputation a long time ago. And now she just kind of lives the life that she wants to live. And there is this like house party that's happening. And the Duke of Lockwood is looking for the perfect bride. But he also is at this house party and wants to have a little bit of fun before he really has to settle down into having to find a bride to like save his family type of thing. And so when these two meet, they have this crazy chemistry out on, like out in the water. They're both like swimming in this, like, not a lagoon, but like just out in this place, and they meet each other. And I believe they don't really know who each other is. They would have heard of each other. They're friends through friends, but they have this, they don't full on sleep together on this, but they have this crazy chemistry. They weren't who they were expecting to meet, but they have this great interaction. And then when they meet again, Lockwood is actually trying to court one of her friends. And so she feels like he was a bit of a cheat, though again, he wasn't officially like courting her friend yet or anything. He was trying to have some fun beforehand. And he doesn't really want to marry any of these people anyway. So what's cool about The Duke Gets Even is that if you've read the first 3 books in the series, you'll have seen the Duke of Lockwood kind of miss out on the girl again and again and again. Like he tries courting at least 2 of the previous friends, but he loses out. And so we now see this book, which starts before the rest of the series does, and then picks up after, as these other women have found their happily ever afters, and now Nellie and Lockwood just keep getting forced towards each other. So this is one that starts kind of when they're on a house party, which is a, basically a vacation back in the day type of situation, right? So this is a really good one for that. And there are quite a few historicals that actually have like that kind of setting at a house party or something like that. But I only put one in here just to kind of shake it up a little bit, right? Okay, next up, real quick, this one is actually novella length, and it's about a little weekend getaway more so than a full-on vacation, but that's okay, that's fun too. And this one is Silver Foxed by Kayla Gross, and this one is a dad's best friend, and they both kind of get stuck, well, not stuck, but they both are going to her family's home for the weekend. Her mom tells her, hey, you can have a getaway, go stay at the house. And the dad had also told his friend, and I believe it's his business associate, but for sure his friend, that he can go and get away from it at the house for a weekend too, because they're not using it. And the mom and the dad hadn't told each other that they both said someone could use the house. And so the daughter is at the house already. And then Elijah shows up. I can't remember what the heroine's name is. Let me see if it's written at the top. Alex is the heroine's name. And when Elijah shows up and she's already there, he's like, oh my gosh, I so did not mean to impose on you. Your parents must not have known that you'd be here, or your dad, like, I'm going to head out. And she's like, wait. You don't have to go anywhere. And Alex does a little bit of devilry here, and she encourages him to stay because she's like, you know what, I've always been really attracted to him, and we're both here and my parents aren't here, and why don't we see where this is gonna go? And so it definitely does, and they have some fun sexy times together for that weekend. So yeah, and it's a nice little quick one, as I said. No big angst, no big nothing, just fun time. Okay, then we have another one that was quite the throwback, and this one made me smile because I really love this series a whole bunch. This is great. And this one is Royally Screwed by Emma Chase. And this is the first in a royal series. Obviously, it says royally here. But it is, let's just say you might see some similarities between another royal family out there. Okay, but in this one we have Nicholas Arthur Frederick Edward Pembroke, who is the Crown Prince of Wesseco. It's Wesco. And he happens to be on a trip in Manhattan, And he's kind of undercover, though he's like not, but he kind of is. And he meets this dark-haired beauty who doesn't know who he is, and instead she throws a pie in his face. So Nicholas wants to find out if she tastes as good as her pie, and the heir apparent is used to getting what he wants. And so, yes, in the very beginning, she doesn't realize this is a prince. And by the time she realizes it's a prince, she's already a bit charmed by him. She's already a bit swept away. And she may be biting off a bit more than she can chew. But this, you know, sweet little trip that he has there to just, you know, kind of escape some of the realities of his position are going to lead to a whole lot more between the two of them. And they're going to lead to a whole lot more for Westco, by the way, as well. So, yeah, this series to me is really charming. I really enjoyed this couple, but I also really love both the subsequent books in here. There's Royally Matched, which is a bit like a Royal Bachelor show like they do. It's called Matched Royally Edition. And then there's also Royally Endowed. And that one is the princess and a bad boy. I think it's even, is it a bodyguard romance too? It might not be. That one might be. I don't know if that one's a bodyguard or not, but the whole series is pretty good. So, like those. Okay, then this was like I said, I had a lot of throwbacks. I'll stop saying that. But another one, and this one made my heart hurt a little bit remembering this one because, oh, this author just, she's such an interesting mix of like really fun, quirky ones and like rip your guts out, okay? And this one's in the middle, all right? And this is A Place in the Sun by R.S. Gray. I haven't read an R.S. Gray in far too long, you guys. I have a few saved and I haven't got to them, but this one is our heroine here, Georgie, is just trying to get out of her mom's clutches. Her mom's trying to matchmake her with people. And so she decides to take a vacation in Verrazza, Italy. And so her only plan is to lay low, enjoy the sun, eat gelato, enjoy the wine and the waves, and just have a great time. And then she wakes up in bed next to this absolutely gorgeous man named Gianluca. And yes, I immediately because it said I'd read this and I read it many years ago and I was like, ooh, do I remember it? And that name brings it back because, and I'm sure I shared this way back when I was in 11th grade, one of my friends who was a year older than me, her family had an exchange student from Italy and his name was Gianluca. And he was a sexy man, I won't lie. And he knew it. And everybody in the like 10th, 11th grade knew it for sure. He was a hottie for sure. And he was a bad boy too. But yes. So anyway, after Gianluca goes out of his way to rescue her, he's a former London financier turned a recluse. And he makes it clear that he might have been a white knight, but he's not here to have a fairy tale with her. And Georgie isn't trying to get him, to want to marry her by any means. Remember, she's just there to escape reality, but she's really intrigued by him. And so, that leads to them having a few sexy nights together. This is just supposed to be for fun, and we'll see where it leads between them from there. But there is a reason why Gianluca is a bit closed off, and things are a bit, tougher than they may seem for him to fall for someone. But I remember that one being very sweet and, such a throwback. Oh, look, I did write a review for this one. I did not write reviews for books way back then, you guys. That is so funny. But yeah, this is what, I'll just read you what I wrote. I only wrote 2 lines. I said, this was a really sweet. It was fun and relaxing, but it was also an interesting look at different kinds of grief. So there you go. I was happy to see the restoration of a man and how he is able to move on from a loss, especially one when he was so young. So there you go. Now you have a bit of a clue at some of the trigger warnings for this, because I doubt there were trigger warnings listed in these books back then. It was not the time when people did those, Okay, then there is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is a very well-known one for sure, and I did read this one when it was coming out. And this one has Piper Bellinger, who is a fashionable influencer, basically, and she's a wild child that the paparazzi are always coming after her. And so she ends up drinking too much one night, and she gets put in the slammer. And so her stepfather decides that that's it. I've had enough. I'm not going to keep bailing you out of this. And so he sends her to stay with her sister and to get some responsibilities at their late father's dive bar in Washington. So this is one where, like, it's kind of a vacation situation because she's not meant to stay there forever, but she's not supposed to just be living it up and having the time of her life. She's supposed to learn some stuff. But then she bumps into a bearded sea captain named Brendan, who thinks that she is just kind of a waste of time, and he is a bit harsh and grumpy to her. And she keeps bumping into him over and over again, this grumpy fisherman. I remember this one absolutely being recommended for, like, grumpy sunshine tropes. And it was that time when, like, the Schitt's Creek style stuff was coming out everywhere. Like, she's not the only author who did this style, because Schitt's Creek got really big during lockdown, I know. And so a lot of people were trying it. And so the thing is, these two start to fall for each other. She's starting to, you know, kind of fall again for things that she remembers from when her father was alive, but she's only supposed to be there for a short time. So they got to be careful not to fall too deeply in love with one another. Okay, then we have one that, this one, I remember this one so well. This was Ever After Always by Chloe Leese. And this was a part of the Bergman brothers. Now, this one was number 3, but I'll tell you, in that series, only read books 3 and 4. And I didn't have any problem. And I remember why I started with this book. And it absolutely had to do with what the trope was at the time, because this was a marriage in trouble. And I was really interested in those at the time. And I'd only read Tessa Bailey Had a Marriage in Trouble. And just a couple other that I'd read that I really liked. And this was one that, it was a marriage in trouble, not because of cheating, not because of, you know, truly drifting apart for any other reason than some mental health issues. And I really appreciated the look that Chloe Leese did on this. She has done, in the books that I have read of hers, like, she's really taking great care with the mental health stuff in her books. And I really appreciate that a lot. And so in this one, we have Aiden and, Freya. And they've been in love with each other for a long time. And they really want to have a child. And as it can often happen when you have two people who become very focused on making a baby, it can take some of the magic out of their sex life. And they don't want to stop trying to have a baby, but they are at a point where if they don't work on themselves, if they don't dive deep into that and fix it, there may not be a family to bring a baby into, right? It's that type of situation. And so they both are needing some couples counseling, and they end up on, like, this vacation with the family. So there are a few, like, flashbacks that happen in here about how they got to this point. And, you know, there's their families trying to help them. But overall, there's just very great love between the two of them. And I love how they take their time working on that. Though, again, looking at my review of this, I'll say that I think that the vacation and the time with their families and their time talking did more than the marriage counseling did. Like, in this book, they show them going on one marriage counseling session, and then they go on the vacation, and the vacation fixes everything that's wrong with them. But the sentiment of the book was good. To me, that's about a pacing issue, because they should have maybe had things be starting to be worked on a bit more before we got on vacation, so that vacation could soothe a lot of things. But to jump right from we're just not sure how we're going to make it anymore to vacation fixed us is a lot. But I still really love these two, and this was a book that I gave 5 stars at the time. that I read it, and oh, it was just so beautiful. But yes, it is vacation that really kind of sparks a few things for them. Okay, then let's throw up this one. We have Hideaway Heart by Melanie Harlow. And this one is, we have Kelly Jo Sullivan, who is a country music star who goes by the name Pixie Hart. And she is taking a 2-week break. Now, she is planning to still do some writing, but she wants to take this 2-week vacation. So she cuts herself off. She tries to hide from the paparazzi. And she goes to stay in this cabin. Only her family is like, girl, you are famous. Someone's going to find out where you are. You need protection. And she doesn't want anyone protecting her. And so her brother sends Alexander Buckley to look out for her. Okay? So Alexander is a former Navy SEAL. And again, he was friends with one of her brothers. And he owes him a favor. And so he agrees to show up there and be her bodyguard for these 2 weeks. Now, Kelly Jo does not want him to be there, but her brother was like, listen, you either let Xavier do it or we'll get somebody else who won't try to be as like unintrusive as Xander is. And so, yes, these two end up staying in this cabin together. And of course, they can't help but flirt and egg each other on, and it quickly leads to them agreeing to, during this 2 weeks, have sexy time together. There's even a really hot, like, primal play scene mixed into this, which is great. I think that Melanie Harlow does it in a good way where, you know, this isn't a dark romance, this isn't an erotic romance. It's just a couple experimenting and having fun, and I love when that can be done. Ooh, my nails match this one. It can be done in a cute way in here. There's also a scene that is partially a CNC scene. It's a role play, and it's so hot and just done so well. This is in a top tier Melanie Harlow for me as well, but it does have a vacation on it, which is just perfect. So I love it so much. I just love it too because even in here, like, she put a trigger warning for this, and she does have a QR code so you can read it, but she said it this way. She's like, there is one intimate scene that may not be for you, and so if you're concerned, you can check out this QR code. But it is just what I said to you. It is a scene where they do a role play that is a bit of a CNC with some primal play in there. But it's done in a very lighthearted way. That doesn't mean that, you know, it still might not be for you, and that's totally fine. But those of us who have read, like, primal play, you'll probably be like, what is that? in the scale of, like, that's not really a thing, but, you know, everybody has their limits, and if you're reading Melanie Harlow, you might not be prepared for it. So just know that in that one. But maybe it'll be a good titillator for you to want to try, and if that is so, Jen's got you covered. I got some primal play videos if you want to check it out, right? Okay, just a couple more here. Just 2 more we'll go over, and 1 bonus. There is Worth the Fall by Claudia Connor, and this is one I just love to talk about. This is a single mom. I believe she has 3 kids, and she's pregnant with a 4th, and she had lost her husband just a few months ago, and she takes her children on this vacation because she just wanted to, you know, let them have some fun and, you know, some time with them before the next baby comes. And she's just been very overwhelmed by things. Now, for once, being honest, it isn't monetarily that she is struggling because her husband they were pretty well off, so she has insurance money, but emotionally, it's tough, right? Like, it's tough in that way. And though she wasn't the closest with her husband, they had a bit of a distant marriage. She, you know, there's no way to not feel overwhelmed with that many children, right? And then we have our hero, who is a SEAL. I think he's still a SEAL or Special Forces. I can't remember what he is at the beginning of this. But he is being forced on a bit of a vacation because there was an incident and he needs to get cleared before he can go back to work. And they say you need to take a trip. And so one of his buddies talks him into going on this little vacation with him. And it happens to be at the resort where this mom and her kids are, and they run into each other. And instead of hanging out with his friend and ending up sleeping with some of the women that his friend found for them, he ends up falling for this mom and her kids. And he spends most of the vacation getting to know them. And when it's time for them to leave this place, he's just not done with them yet. And he wants to see them again. And it's just a really beautiful story. This was one of my favorite books I read a couple years ago. It was in my top books of the year. This couple is everything, you guys. Like, they are just, this whole story is so beautiful. But it does start on a vacation. So I was like, there we go. Vacation romance right there. And then we finally have a Christmas vacation. I thought I would have a few more, but I didn't want it to feel all holiday. But we do have one. And it's because, to me, it's a pretty significant vacation these families go on. They take like a full, like 2.5 weeks to take this vacation. I think between, you know, kind of like Christmas to New Year style. But this is Can I Tell You Something by Holly June Smith. And this isn't super long. It's not quite novella, but it's not like full length either. It's right in there. But this one is actually best listened to because it is actually about a narrator. And then he ends up going on vacation with his roommate and like buddy from work. And he gets invited to this family vacation. And it turns out that the sister of his friend, she is a fan of this hero's work because he does sexy narration. Like, he kind of has a like OnlyFans for narration, and he does show his face. So this isn't a narrator who like hides who he is. And so obviously he uses like a fake name for that stuff, but his face is out there. And she is someone who definitely pays for his work. And some very hot scenes that he has narrated and things. In fact, she has actually messaged him on Instagram many times. And then, you know, but he's never accepted her friend request because she's just a random person. And so once he sees his friend's sister, she's acting a little strange around him. He also thinks she's really pretty though. And so he ends up looking her up on Instagram. And when he goes into her name, he sees that he finds out, basically, is the thing. He sees that she has left him, you know, I'm not saying hundreds of messages, but maybe like 20 or something messages of her having listened to different of his productions and is kind of gushing about how hot he is and everything. And so now he's like, oh my God, she's into me. And then when she goes in to look at like all the messages that she sent him, she sees that he has read them. So now they both know that the other one knows, and he's going to use that to his advantage just a little bit. So this one was really great. Like I said, it's a long vacation. They're at a ski resort. It's really fun with family and everything. And there's not a whole lot of angst to it at all. Like, this isn't a case of like the family's going to freak out or anything. It was really cute. So that was a fun one. That is a Christmas vacation. And there's supposed to be another one coming out that is about like the brother's romance, because the brother has a second chance romance that's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that one. I think that one's supposed to, it might already be out. I should go look it up. I know the audiobook hasn't been offered through Must Love Audio yet, which is how I read the first one. But I wonder if that other one is out yet, because I kind of want to read it for sure. Okay, and then the bonus, because I said I would share a bonus one, and it's just because I will always recommend this book whenever I want to. And what is a book that starts during a vacation and things go very, very wrong? Well, that would be Outlander. Yep, I did it. I found a way to put it in here because Claire Randall and her husband Frank are having a second honeymoon in Scotland after the war has ended. And things go horribly wrong. Well, at least for Frank. For Claire, you know, I'll leave that up to her to decide how things worked out for her. But, oh, that is an interesting vehicle that just drove by. But anyway, like I said, it's a bonus. You don't have to consider that one a vacation romance. So, Claire went on quite the vacation. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. I appreciate it. And I'm not on vacation yet when you're seeing this one. I need to film a video for this week and bank one for next week, but this one will put up this week. And thank you so much for watching. I'll have links to all of these books down below. If you purchase any of them, it does help out the channel. And we will see you next time. Bye.